What I want to do is talk about the factors that you've got to consider when you're trying to manage the debt in your business. So, a lot of businesses, they often have to go into debt because they've got growth plans, and to actually invest enough into their business to achieve those growth plans, they have to borrow the money. So, by borrowing the money, they've got this cash injection straight away, and then what they're doing is they're utilizing that cash to make more cash, and then the idea is down the line they can then pay the initial borrowing off and then keep all the profits they made. So the reason this conversation is really important is if you look around, and if you've ever talked to a commercial finance broker, or if you've ever talked to anyone who deals with business debt and business finance, what you will quickly realize is there's so many different ways to borrow money for a business, and also there are so many different interest rates to borrow at. And quite often, and this is the really worrying thing about business debt, is sometimes the interest rate you're actually paying isn't very obvious because it's packaged up in so many different ways, where you've got part of it as an interest rate, part of it as a flat monthly fee. And then when you're just trying to work out what the rate for comparison is, it can be really, really difficult to do that. So what I want to do is just talk about some of the considerations, because getting the costs of your debt in your business down and getting the right kind of debt is really, really important. So you might say, okay, well, this is an easy one, right? You just look at the APR of a loan or a particular type of funding, and you just go with the funding option with the lowest APR, because the annual percentage rate, that's the bit you want to keep down, because that represents how much interest you're going to pay, and you want to keep your interest costs down. So you would just go with the lowest rate. So where it gets confusing is, well, the thing I just said earlier, where it's not obvious what the APR is, because some types of lending have a flat fixed fee plus a APR. Some don't have an APR at all. They have what you call a flat rate, which isn't directly comparable to an APR. It's actually worked out very differently, but it's and quite often it appears to be lower when it's actually a higher amount of interest that you're paying in terms of that flat rate. So one of the key things when you're trying to manage your debt strategy is just really understand, find out a way you can just compare one type of debt to another type of debt. A really good way to do this is actually just think about the amount of time you're going to borrow this money for, and then forget the percentages and everything, and just ask the broker, okay, over this period of time, how much interest am I going to pay? And that's your best way to really be able to compare one type. But you've also got to say not just interest, you've got to say how much interest and how much in fees am I going to pay? And then you've got the overall cost of borrowing that amount of money over a period of time. And that's your easiest way to compare things. So that's when you can then forget about APRs or flat rates or fixed fees. What you're just saying is, what is this going to cost me? So, but the other thing you've really got to think about is you've got to get the right kind of borrowing depending on the amount of time that you need to borrow that asset or equipment need to borrow the money for. So if you're borrowing to invest, then what you're thinking is, okay, well, how long is it going to take for this thing that I'm investing in terms of my business to start paying back and breaking even, so I can then repay this loan? If you're plugging a cash flow gap because you've had some sort of emergency, you've got to really think about how long you're plugging that gap for, until you can then return your business to profitability and start making money again. So, but because you might be thinking, well, I can just go with the lowest interest charge, but quite often if you take a really long-term borrowing for a short-term period of time, that's when you're going to end up paying over the odds anyway, because you might find, okay, a loan which ties you in for 3 years gives you an interest it gives you the lowest interest charge over that 3-year period, but you might only need it for 3 months. So it's really worth factoring that in. So if I could actually just summarize this video, well, firstly, you've got to think about how long you need to borrow the money for, because that's going to help you get the right kind of funding. But you've also got to think about what you need to borrow the money for, because some types of loans and funding are attached to particular types of assets within your business, or they may be attached to you personally, and just trying to understand how you connect up the risk in your business, because you don't want to attach a loan to an asset that's part of your business which is quite profitable and doesn't need investment. Because if something went wrong with this other part of your business, that which the loan was actually for, but the collateral was on another part of your business where it was healthy, then a bad part of your business could actually take down a good part of your business. So you're looking at connecting up the risk in terms of a strategy to manage your debt. You're looking at periods of time to borrow it for. You're thinking about, essentially what we're really thinking about as well is how hard or how difficult is it to get that type of funding. If it's a type of funding where you're going to save a little bit of money on the interest rates, but they want you to sit down for like a week and just work out a business plan, you should already have a business plan. But a lot of lenders, they want you to create a business plan in their own format with their own metrics, just to make their life easier. So you do want to think about how much effort is involved in the application, because actually that is a cost to you as well on top of the interest. And really, then what you've got to think about is just find an easy way where you can compare the actual interest and loan costs to each other and to different types of funding, because quite often they're not easily comparable. And by doing that, like if you think about it, a lot of businesses out there, they spend tens of thousands of pounds on funding and loans, and really that can really add up and wipe out a huge part of your profits. So that's why it's really important to really think about how you're going to manage the debt in your business. So if you found this video useful, just remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe. But also get in touch. Go to our website, book yourself in for a free strategy session with myself, and then we can talk about some of these issues in your business and just give you really specific priorities to work on, so you can start moving in the right direction. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.